why this life is a game, and it's just a test. It's always a test of our weaknesses. You're always going to, if you're not in a test right now of one of your weaknesses, get ready, because either one's coming or you just finished a test. But every single day, you're going to be tested on your weaknesses until you overcome them. That's just the truth.
Last week, we learned so much from Vinay at the Cut Last magazine about identity, about culture, spirituality a little bit, and what he's trying to do to preserve the Indo Caribbean culture. But that's not what this show is all about. The show is about talking to different people from different backgrounds and understanding where they came from, where they're going, and most important, the lessons that they've learned along the way. Today is no exception, as I have a great friend who is always putting people first. And he truly believes in serving people to the highest power. And it's not just based on his religion, it's just based off his life experiences. I've become friends with this person for the past like almost like 2 years. And every single day, every conversation that I have with him, leave better than I did before I did. It's always important that we always talk about our inner circles and what our inner circles do for us. And I'm fortunate and blessed to say that our guest is actually a part of my inner circle. You need people to uplift you, to motivate you, but then again, to kind of call you out when you're not doing things, not necessarily the right way, but you're kind of going down a path that is of uncertainty. So, with that being said, I want to welcome my amazing friend, DJ Flores. He's a podcast host himself with tons of years in that. He's a franchise owner. He has tons of experience in businesses, his own personal businesses, and his own journey that he's gone across in his life. So, with that being said, I'm really excited to bring on a friend because we said this previously on Sales Chatter Live that you think you know your friends until you have a conversation with them or you actually get to interview them rather than being, hey, how's it going today? Oh, my day's going great. And actually diving deep and being a little bit vulnerable. So this morning, this afternoon, I know you're catching it on Monday at 5 o'clock. We're going to be a little bit vulnerable today as we welcome my amazing friend, DJ Flores. Welcome to the Logistics Monk Show, brother.
What's up, man? Oh man, thank you. That intro was awesome, and yeah, I couldn't have said better. Your circle, I mean, you said it. Your tribe is your vibe, and that's really what it comes down to, and what makes us who we are in the end.
And that's something that I've always kind of believed that you're as we kind of you look at the progression of life, right, DJ, that we're in elementary school, we go to high school, we go to college, university, we're surrounded by people that there's an abundance of friends. But I think one of the hardest things in life, DJ, is to actually make adult friends. As we're
Yes,
kind of growing up, we all got our
yes,
different things like there. So I want to get started with this, DJ. The good
yeah,
wolf. What is it?
yes. Oh man, so feeding the good wolf is a long story, and I'll make it as quick and as I can, but getting to the good points. Born and raised Catholic my whole life. Struggle with hearing the stories of this amazing guy, Jesus, and God, and all of these things. But then I was looking around me. I was looking at hearing stories of priests and different stories, and all of these different, just people that I'm looking up to, especially at a young age. Anybody who was older than me, I don't know if my parents just did an amazing job of raising me with respect for that, but anybody who was older than me, even a few years older than me, like a kid, that was authority to me. Like, listen, whatever they say, you better listen to. And um, so I heard hearing these stories of Jesus and all these things, but then I'm questioning, well, you guys are hurting people. Like, I see what you're doing when you're not preaching down on somebody, and that was another side. It was a lot of preaching down to people, and I think, unfortunately, a lot of religions get stuck doing that, because they get stuck on the fine points, and that's where the feeding the good wolf really was born. I heard Matthew McConaughey tell a story of an old Cherokee grandfather talking to his grandson about saying there's a battle inside each and every one of us. There's two wolves, and there is a battle every day inside of each and every one of us. And when he said that, I was listening as I usually do when I was in what I like to call mobile university, or from Zig Ziglar, listening to just different speeches, different things to keep my mind right, and heard him say that, and I was like, whoa, hold on, okay, yeah, I could get behind this, because It really made a lot of sense. And so I'm like, all right, well, good. Yeah, we definitely do. That's what I'm feeling. I feel this more than maybe most people are wanting to share. I feel it. Like I feel the battle. And so I'm like, okay, all right, sweet. So, and so he says, it's the good wolf is basically your positive thoughts, your positive feelings. And to me, I connected it even deeper to really kind of solidify the story to me. And it was, well, batteries, or like, what makes a human work? Okay, well, our brain, if our brain stops working, we have brain function that stops for certain long, you're brain dead and you don't work anymore. Like you're done, game over. Your heart stops working, game over. Okay, well, those are the two things, really, the main two things that without those things really working, we're done. All right, so positive and negative. Then this must be negative. Well, why is my brain negative? Why is that the evil or the bad wolf? And so then it was really a deep dive into that. But again, it was really just simplifying what I think religion and people have overcomplicated for a long time. And in the end is just follow the golden rule. If do to other people or be involved in things that you would want done to you. So like if along the process, whatever you're doing or involved in could potentially harm or hurt somebody else, don't do it. Like it's wrong, obviously, regardless of whatever the outcome is for you, temporarily, immediate, or whatever. It's wrong, and it's just very easy. So feed the good wolf, and that's the one who wins, and that's really why I live by that.
And that's amazing to kind of see that you actually you live your life based on these principles, and they've changed, like as you kind of grow and go on in life, things will become more, I would say, heightened sense. You're able to kind of go for a walk outside, and then you're like, okay, well, all these things are happening around me, or are they happening to me? And I think one of the big things, like I've read that story myself, which is like, which one are you going to feed? And it kind of goes back to, I remember on Sales Chatter when both we were on there, we always had Rico on, and he was always a big fan of these two
Mm,
choices, man, either closer or further away, right? We're not doing a
that's
peace
it.
side, from there. I know that you're a big person who likes self development and that family life. Where does that self development come from? Is that maybe from your parents, your upbringing, seeing them kind of go on in life? Is it being with your wife, your kids? Where do you find that self motivation and that self development?
So I'll tell you, man. It's life is a test. Life is a journey, and that's really where there's all these different views, all these different ideas that have us wondering, is this the right way? No, is this the right way? Well, I really like them. Is this the right way? And so we don't really know, but there is no right answer for anybody. That's the hard part about this. Everybody wants the truth. The truth is your truth. What is true to you? Like what do you actually feel? I feel like the reason I struggled with with religion, the reason I struggled with uh, just buying into. I mean, I've had more jobs than people probably in their life have had. And the funny thing is, I mean, I've never really been fired. I always quit. Um, but I always quit because of leadership and belief. And Zig Ziglar talked to his friend, has a story of talking to his friend selling high-end cutware, like pots and pans, or cookware, and he's in his friend's kitchen and he's looking around and he doesn't see it. And that was one of the big things that I guess always tied to me, but it tied even deeper than just what I was doing or selling. It tied to me as a person. Like, well, you guys are saying this stuff, but you don't believe it. Clearly, you don't believe it. Because if there's a God, then what are we worried about? Like, what is everybody worried about? If everything is supposed to happen, our story is written, God is here. What do we worry about? Why are we? Why does it seem like a good majority of the population is very disturbed, unhappy, um, pissed off, doing terrible things to people? Why is that happening? And so, but I was, and it really is just because of education. It's a lot to do with education. It's a lot to do with environment, and it's not. today the big thing, and especially here in the States, I know you're in Canada, but and I know you guys have your own thing, but here in the States, man, it's a big, and it's always been this black white, oppression not oppressed, this that. There is oppression, there is, but it has nothing to do with color, it has nothing to do with anything else other than education and what certain people know who are in control, and other people have no clue. um and it really comes down to that, and I was stuck in that world. And when you're stuck in that world, that's where the whole I ended up hearing a story of the crab mentality. And I ended up finding out from one of my very close friends. I consider him my Jiminy Cricket. He's a and he as a Jehovah Witness, go figure. But again, I don't care about religion. I don't care about color. I don't care about what you look like. I don't care about any of that. If you're happy, if you have a good vibe, if you're making me feel better when we're around each other, I want to be around you. And that's what we should all focus on. But we get stuck um, in this trap. It really is just a trap that we get stuck in, chasing status or titles or things, cars. And thankfully, because of being so low in that crab bucket, I mean, I only needed to reach so much of a success to realize, like, this sucks. Like, what? I don't even want this shit. Like, this doesn't even matter to me. Like, I want people to be happy. I want to keep progressing, and like, I can't stop. I just don't stop. And that's again why I think there, we have these mixed even messages for self-development, for personal awareness, for all of these things of, oh, if you're not, from when you're waking up to you're grinding, you're working, like, no, that's not me either. Like, although I never stop, I take a lot of the reason I don't stop is I take a lot of time to uh, soak in and embrace the things around me, because I chase that lifestyle. Younger, again, growing up oppressed, growing up in that, and again, oppression's not a black white thing, not a different color thing, not a sex thing. It's where you are education wise, financially educated, educational in the way the world works, especially business, and just personally with who you are and the different types of people around us. So it's always been a deep thing for me, because it was a battle that I went through. I mean, I was the bad people because I thought that's what you had to be to succeed, until I realized, like, no, this sucks. Like, I hate myself. Like, I don't like any of these feelings that I'm feeling. I, I to everybody else, I'm very successful, but this is not success to me. And that's, I mean, a quote I shared today on LinkedIn, was a quote that's always been very big to me, and Tony Robbins, success without happiness is failure. And I
Yeah.
believe that. I believe that to the core. That's why we have multimillionaires, billionaires who just want more and more, because they think eventually when they get enough, they're going to be happy. Happiness is not in those things. Happiness is not in anything, actually. Happiness is here. But you have to find it first in yourself. And that's why self development and personal development. And I want to write a book about the Rubik's Cube. And the secret of life is really in a Rubik's Cube. I believe the secret of life is in the Rubik's Cube. And if people can understand just the basics of that and the fundamentals of who they are around with, and how we need each other. I mean, in the end, we're humans. We need each other. Like, the more we isolate, the worse we get. We need each other, and so I'm glad to have you in my circle. Like you mentioned in the beginning, we need. I mean, that study. There was a study just recently done. Lewis House had, or was it Lewis? It was Lewis or one of those guys. Maybe Ed Milet had this guy on from Harvard, the study of happiness. I didn't know it existed. I mean, that's my first question for everybody on the new show for loyalty brands is are you happy? Because I
Mhm.
think there are a lot of people doing things today. COVID helped uh, kind of slow people down, and that's where we have this, what people are calling the quiet quitting, or the doing their own business. We have that going on, is they realize like doing this, what I was doing every day that I was supposed to do, happiness. I hate this. Like I actually found happiness sitting at home, being with my family more, with my kids. Maybe less of this, but more of that is more. And that's really what I want people in the end to realize. The goal of this life, the goal of this journey here on earth, this game of life, it's a game. It really is a game. But the goal of it is really to create heaven on earth here before you get, if you believe that there's a heaven somewhere else. That's the goal. If you can do that, um, not only are you going to change a lot of people's lives around you, but uh, you're gonna live a lot more peaceful and happy life too.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, so I want to kind of take each point, kind of point there. So the crab in a bucket mentality. For those who don't know, if you basically put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, as soon as one starts trying to rise to the top, other crabs will try to bring it down. And I've heard this saying so many times when I was a kid, actually at our local temple, and it's so true. So that's where you got to kind of look around who's important. And I think one of the most important things too, DJ, is never celebrate your wins in public. I think keeping it internally, to talk to your circle about it, because those are the people who are going to be your cheerleaders and people who are going to give you constructive criticism, right? Because everybody can go on social media, which is self gratifying platform where, hey, I can post my new car, I can post my new house, I can post my new job. People don't see the grind that it took behind. But then again, it's not up to the public to see that grind. You know, whatever you do in the dark will come out in light one day. So I thought that was
Exactly.
extremely important. One thing you said too about life being like a game. I actually started reading The Road Less Traveled today. Actually, the first couple
Great
pages.
book.
Great book, and the first thing they talk
Great
about is
book.
discipline. That life is challenging, and it's not easy. And you know you have to actually kind of work through it. But discipline is the first thing that you can have. One of the biggest things I think with you, DJ, is that everything you've told me is like gold, and like you reference different authors and different people in your life who's like really been important to your life. What does family look like in terms of that? Because you said that you find your happiness through your family. What are some of the moments that you remember, whether it be being a father, being a husband, being a son, being a brother? What sticks out to you?
Yeah, it's I was blessed too, and I think that's where, besides my parents' old school mentalities of they got together young. My mom moved in, my she was 8 and my dad was 6. They met from then, they ended up getting married and were together ever since. They But they also came from really big families. My dad, the youngest of 9, my mom, the in the middle of 8, and um, so family was always huge. But I'll tell you that in the entrepreneurial world or the high achiever world, you hear a lot of people share the story of it's a lonely road, or it's this or that. But I think the reason they share that and they never get into better detail. So thank you for even bringing this up because I always wanted to share this. But I I think I think the reason they say that is we have to realize like, so one, Andy Grammer, love him as an artist, amazing. Clearly, he tells a journey of a. I would guess he's probably around my age, going through the same things, and so And the great thing about artists is they tell a story, especially really good artists, as an author would in a book, but in songs. And he has a song about "I Choose You," and basically is when we're born, we're just again, however people want to think, this big boom happened and here we are, or there's a god up there, or whatever anybody believes of how we came here. Like, we are born, we come out, and we don't get to choose our family, our parents, or anything else. Like, they're just, here you go, here's a new family, and that's how he starts it. And I thought it was so clever when he explained that, because it's like, yeah, we don't get to choose that, but at the same time, that's where we learn everything. From 0 to 7, Dr. Bruce Lipton talks a lot about our life as a recording. We're just living a program. From 0 to 7, that's why he says a lot of churches, or I think he says a certain church will say, if you give me a child from 0 to 7, I'll show you the man. And basically what that means is we are always going to be a reflection of our environment, whether we want to believe that or not. So if we're around people who are doing wrong things, even if we don't think we're doing wrong things, the fact that we know they're doing wrong things is wrong. So there is a part of us that is going to be infected. A big a quote that I don't even know if it was a quote, but self trust is the first secret of success. You
Mm.
mentioned something, and I think that's the biggest key that we need to learn as humans. Life is a test. This journey is a test. Dan, shout out Dan. You mentioned Sales Chatter. He mentioned Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. That book changed my life. Changed my life. But it was because of really understanding that whatever our weaknesses are, that's where the devil or the evil is going to find, because this our brain, if we go back to the start of humanity, because we're all humans, we're still human. We started as caveman a long time ago. We didn't have to worry about cars or jets or whatever else, or whoever anybody's afraid of now. We had to worry about saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs. Run, and so that's what this thing was for. So it's always finding the quickest way out. At the same time, that's what hurts us. We have to go through those lessons to learn. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting that lesson. And life, you said life isn't easy. Matthew McConaughey's had a great quote about life. It isn't easy. It never will be. It wasn't meant to be. It isn't going to be. Don't fall into the trap of the victim mentality or the victim trap. And really, that is where we all fall in. But it's because, again, going back to family, you talked about, if we all have generational curses or certain battles or struggles that our bloodlines couldn't fight through. They couldn't get to that other side. um, and that's where I think you have to at some point separate and know your journey, know your family is there. And that's why a lot of people share that it's a lonely road, because a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people, a lot of people going against the grain, obviously most of the people around them feel is the right way to do things, is going to be lonely. But that's until you find another network. That was the hardest thing for me. That's how strong family was for me, because of my dad has no really strong big close relationships, because he just had brothers and cousins and uncles and all this, and that's all I had. And that's, so it was very tied to family. And it was that was probably throughout my journey so far of entrepreneurship, that was the hardest one. That it really, when I started to hear Les Brown and Tony Robbins, all the greats say, it's a lonely road. Is You're gonna feel all alone. You are, and you have to, because your journey, your purpose, your calling, your passion is yours, only
Yeah.
yours. Like, this was given to you, nobody else. So you have to find the people like yourself, you in my circle now, Lisa Petty, another amazing person who is a great supporter from the beginning, and just my wife, Maggie. That's where you said, again, tying back to, you said making adult friends is hard. We need more than just friends. The key that he found out from that study of happiness was you need just one or two solid people. There's no set number, but you need people that you could count on if you were ever sick or scared, that you can call them and they're there for you. That is what it really comes down to. So the secret is just relationships, making relationships and building meaningful, strong relationships. The only way you get there, again, going back to one last thing you said, was asking questions, getting to the deep stuff. A lot of us want to, and even with our friends and family, it's probably more that way than strangers. I had so many in sales. I'll tell you, being an empath and being who I am in sales has been quite a freaking journey, dude. Because I will make friends and have people tell me things that they look at me after we're done. It's the first time I'm meeting them, but especially in home sales, they feel very comfortable. They're in their home. I
Yeah.
mean, they feel like, well, I welcomed you. And at a certain point, if you're a good person and a genuine person, you can build a relationship. And they feel like, and the next thing, it's like a therapy session, and they're telling me things they've never told anybody. Like, whoa, like, thank you for sharing that. But at the same time, the reason people do that is that's what we want. In the end,
Yes.
that's what we need. We need people that we can say, "Hey, I'm feeling this way right now, and it fucking sucks. I don't know what's going on. I need help." But nobody wants to do that, or doesn't feel comfortable enough, especially around the people. And it unfortunately tends to be family and close friends that we have this persona or this thing that we think we can't open those barriers. But I promise you, you get deep with your close friends, with your right people, it'll change your life forever.
Yeah, because I think one of the biggest things is that we put like this bias, like I don't want to be shown as weak, like I'm gonna be my own person, right? And we think one thing I've learned, DJ, is that we think about ourselves more than other people actually do. Like, hey, if I'm wearing two different color socks, oh my God, it's gonna be such a big deal. Meanwhile, nobody really gives a shit, right? It's like from that point of view. And I think that's really important that we understand that, have the conversations. Cause like even for myself, right? If I was to have a conversation with my wife, being a little bit more vulnerable and things like that, I know my wife wouldn't judge me. It's a safe space. And that's why
Yes,
I've been doing the show, like this is our second episode, but I want
yes,
this to be a safe space for somebody to come in, feel comfortable, even if they've never met me before, and understand that, hey, let's just have a conversation. And one of the
yes.
biggest things, I talk about this a lot, but I know it's not for like the logistics monk crowd, but I go to Toastmasters every Wednesday and meeting 20 to 30 different like-minded people from various backgrounds. I've learned so much. And you mentioned before about your podcast where you ask people if they're happy. I do that in conversation now, brother, and like just to
Yes,
see somebody like stop and think about it, rather being like, yeah, 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 like not put a defensive wall, is like very important to me because that means okay, let's have a conversation. Like I know the
yes.
times that I've asked, DJ is like, okay, let me think about it. Yes, I am happy. Okay, then tell me why. What makes you happy about it and things like that. And it's not for me judging. There's no judging factor from there. But what are your thoughts on that?
I love that you said that. I love that doing that. So Toastmasters, proud of you for doing that. I think networking is the biggest thing missing that people, adults. You talked about making friends. Uh, Listen, and actually, even going back before that, you mentioned about we 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 judge or think of ourselves more than anybody else is worrying about us. That's 100% that's true. Everything we're thinking is just us. That's why that self trust is the first secret of success. That's why that's so big. That really is like, and why I say that. Here's what I think, and I want everybody to pretend. And why you said, because again, I was the hardest critic, so I didn't get into this, but the hardest critic on myself, and obviously judging other people, but I was more judging myself. Like I'm terrible for this, I'm terrible, but uh, that I at one point at the age of 27 became a member of the LDS Church. I was baptized under the Mormon Church, the LDS Church. Now, why would a Catholic, born and raised Catholic, go there? Well, I'll tell you. So, few things. But this is how I'm such, and to tie back to your point, we're always judging or thinking of ourselves. I ended up joining there, but then kind of pulling away. I love the people. They were very true. They were genuine. I didn't meet one that seemed like you're saying this stuff and you're acting this way, but I could tell you're doing something to, or even worse, I see you doing these bad things, but you're saying and acting some totally different way. Not once did I meet that. More, they were willing to give you everything and anything. So they really believed to the core what they preach. But this is how hard of a critic I am on myself. They are big against drinking any kind of alcohol or any kind of even caffeine. I drink caffeine. I love monsters, as you've seen on the show, and I drink alcohol socially. I'm not a big drinker. I really don't like to drink, but I will drink it socially. So because of that, I was like, I can't go. Like I don't feel right going there. Never once judged from anyone. Nobody even knew that this was an issue of mine. I never even shared it, but it was me judging myself. But here's what helped me with that, and goes back to the feeding the good wolf and that battle we have, and why this. this life is a game, and it's just a test. It's always a test of our weaknesses. You're always going to, if you're not in a test right now of one of your weaknesses, get ready, because either one's coming or you just finished a test. But every single day, you're going to be tested on your weaknesses until you overcome them. That's just the truth. And what I found from judging myself like that, I thought, okay, this battle. There has to be more to that. Well, raising five kids has been amazing, and especially in different seasons of my life. Raising kids in your 20s versus raising kids in your late 30s to 40s, totally different. From obviously the level you are educational wise, financially, emotionally, all of those things, to just your experience in life. Um, but what I learned from that is so, and that's why they even had shows like kids say the darndest thing or that kind of stuff. Like kids at a certain age, they will just say what they think. There is no filter.
Yeah.
Um, I think what this life is and why one of my hashtags always is you versus you. Always feed the good wolf and you versus you, because really it's us versus us. Like this game, life is us versus us, nobody else. And we need those people, like you mentioned, to support us, to lift us up, to be there, to defeat ourselves, because we are fighting ourselves every day. And to go even deeper, to make people really understand that, pretend anybody who ends up listening to this or catches this later, or Ryan, you catch this later and you guys have kids, uh, picture your 5 year old kid or even your 5 year old self, because I believe this is what we have going around, and why that quote, self trust is the first secret to success. We have our 5 year old self walking around with us every single day, holding our hand, seeing everything we do. They know everything we think. They know everything we feel. They know everything. Our 5 year old self is with us. And they are calling us out on all of our bullshit that we keep lying about, because we know that we are lying. Uh, and we are not being fully transparent with what we're feeling inside. That's why you need those deep relationships. That's why you need those meaningful conversations to get that out, because otherwise you're just battling yourself and feeling like you're the only one going through it. Once you share battling with, you'll be surprised. Not only will you probably help change somebody else's life by sharing your story, because everybody has a story,
Yeah.
everybody needs to hear your story. But even more than that is, somebody can learn something from everyone. Like everyone you meet, and that's why networking is so powerful to me. Again, to go, and I know I go on these long rants, so I bring it back to you. But a year and a half ago, I had no circle. I mean, I was still a year and a half ago, got into many multi ACN, the network marketing things that I don't know why I had no network. So I don't know what I was thinking. But I literally had no network, from, the just growing up and going to small private schools, to then really only being and close and open with my family or a few select friends that were all obviously your network. If you look around, and Les Brown says this a lot, but your salary is going to be equal to or within a few $1,000s of your closest five people you hang around with. So think
Yep.
about that. But then also, it's it's even deeper than that. It's we need those people because they've gone through something and can share something that we will need to hear at some point. But that's why podcasts, why I think books, why I love quotes, why I love all of these different things that people share, because it's experience they're sharing. Like they're
Yeah.
sharing life. That might have taken them 40 years to learn, but those few words meant everything to them. There's so many of those quotes and things that have changed my life. Again, going to Outwitting the Devil. I mean, that book was crazy.
It's crazy that you think about that because it's so true that everybody that in our life, your neighbor, you can learn a lesson from. The Amazon driver who's bringing your packages today, you can learn from. And that's the one thing I always kind of tell people, DJ, like one of the best jobs I ever had, and I still miss it. Like I've been How old am I? I'm 34. I've been working since I was 15 years old. So
Good
do
for
the
you.
math on that one. But my
Yeah.
first job was McDonald's, and I thought McDonald's is still the greatest job I've ever had. And mind you,
Really?
like,
Okay, what
yeah,
did you like? Tell me, because I'll tell you. So my first like real, I guess, job was Mark's, but like sales job was Best Buy, and I thought it was the greatest too, but I didn't. There was no commission then, and
regular salary.
I was just hourly, but I was selling like a machine and selling these warranties, and it was the energy. That's what I figured it
Yes.
out. That's what really in the end was to me, and what I think most corporate companies, or why I love franchising, why I love what loyalty brands is about and what we're doing. I mean, that's what's missing. If you don't have the people around you, like everybody's just clocking in and they hate what they do, they hate
Yep.
Mondays, they hate their life, they hate you, they just want to make money and make a living and leave. Like that sucks.
And I
That's
feel
the
like that
worst.
that happens the most with like our parents' generation, where hey, you
Yes.
got kids, you got mouths to feed, you shut up and you do it. Because I know with my mom, like being a single mom, like she worked at Walmart for like X amount of years just to basically put food on the table, pay our bills, and have something good for my sister and I. And
Yeah.
then like if I go back to her, I'm like, okay, why didn't you go to school or something like that? She's like, I didn't have time to do that stuff. I had kids to feed. So when your why, and we'll do this on a future episode to talk about whys, but like when your why is greater than yourself, then you got to do things. And I think for me, coming back to what you're saying, working at Best Buy, I always actually wanted to work at Best Buy, but McDonald's was the best because like I learned structure, and I feel like it wasn't. So I was like promoted within 3 months. Like I kept on getting promoted because they really rewarded hard work and
Hard
being
work.
dependable. So when I went to like my first like real corporate job, and I'm like, wait a minute, you've been here for 3 years and you haven't been promoted yet? Like, what's going on? Like, you got to talk to everybody. I'm like, maybe so I go back to McDonald's. But I just love the experience, the people around you. Um, DJ, as we're going to be wrapping up this episode, I'd love for you to tell everybody, because you've mentioned loyalty brands, you mentioned a podcast, you mentioned things like that. You're just such an inspiration to me, so I know there's going to be inspiration to people out there. Tell us a little bit of what you're doing right now, and how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, thanks, man. So this is awesome. Again, thank you for having me. I'm proud of you for doing this. Uh, I think everybody in some way needs to share content. I'm a big Gary Vee fan, and I agree with him completely. You are your brand, regardless of what company you work for. You are your brand. Once you own that, nothing else matters. Um, but so anyway, so you can catch me. So loyalty brands, we are starting a new podcast. So it'll be Tuesdays. We're still playing with the time. More than likely, one will be so Tuesdays we'll have guests in either business owners or in a franchise system looking to franchise their business. It's going to be geared around a lot franchising. Obviously, loyalty brands. We are a Zor of Zors, and so anybody to the franchise new to the franchise lingo, I'll tell you. So franchisor is the business that is selling to the franchisees. So they call them Zors for short, and then Z's is what they call the franchisee for short. But so we are a Zor of Zors. So we have 12 brands. Actually, we just launched two more brands at the end of last month. So we have 14 brands under us. Growing like crazy. I'm actually launching or testing one of our additional brands that might go under with one of our just booming brands, which is Zoom and Grooming, mobile pet spa. It's blowing up. The need for just that next level of customer service and care for your fur babies is really what's driving the growth of Zoom and Grooming. But it's amazing. So loyalty leashes and pet care is our new pet walking, pet sitting, and pet care business that we're as well as the podcast, which is the Robin Hood Capitalist. Um, Idea behind the name is really simple. I think what we see now, what we're in this, and again, anybody who follows me or follows any of the crazy people I shouted out, like Bruce Lipton and those people, you'll understand that we humanity and we're just cycles, and everything's just a trend and cycles, and we live in cycles. And right now we're in a revolutionary cycle, and I think it's always been capitalism against government, but I think the reason it's been that is because the Robin Hood idea is where it's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. But I think that's where capitalism done right, and why I went with the Robin Hood capitalist is franchising. You can do the right franchise model where it's not this pyramid where the top portion gets most of the money and everybody else is kind of, and then you have low paid employees who are hate their life, hate what they do. Great example of that to combat all the fast food ones like you mentioned. Obviously you had, and just from your example, McDonald's, whoever ran that was a great franchisee, but you
Yep.
don't always have that. Sometimes you have bad franchisees who don't care and don't really care about the business. It's just a place to park their money to make more money. That's where the franchise world, and I think what we're looking at today, crashes. When you can spread that and that passion and belief about what you're doing, um, whether it's grooming pets, walking or sitting pets, um, or anything that you're doing, if you can have that passion go all the way down from the leadership and the top to your employees because they're working right under owners themselves or franchisees, then you can really have that Chick-fil-A experience that you doesn't matter where you go, a Chick-fil-A is a Chick-fil-A. Um, I've never had one bad experience there. And that's really what we want to kind of copy and mirror with loyalty brands is we want that ownership passion to 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 really, and again, that's where franchising done right can change the world. I mean, you can now turn your passion into your profession. And
Yep.
if you turn your passion into your profession, now you do what you love. Now you don't hate Mondays anymore.
Yeah.
Sundays, you don't get this bad feeling in your stomach.
You forget which day
And
it is. You know, you're
yeah,
you're working towards your dreams. You forget what day it is.
exactly. You forget what day it is because every day is just, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Now I look forward to Mondays because now who else can I talk to about franchising? I love this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I love
I look
this.
forward to DJ. I look forward to Mondays because like that's when my wife goes to work. No, I'm just joking. But
Stop it.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
you're kidding.
yeah. That's
I
awesome.
know you're kidding. I will tell you, yeah, yeah. Mondays have changed ever since I started following my passion. That's really, in the end, what I want. I want to help people realize that they can create their own heaven on earth. And so, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Loyalty Brands, our website, the podcast coming up soon. It'll be a YouTube channel on LinkedIn as well, capitalist. But again, yeah, if you hate or dread Mondays right now, um, hate what you're doing, you're one of the space that just recently got laid off or is getting cut every single day now, and you made a bunch of money, but you don't know what to do and you don't want to work for somebody else, reach out to us. Franchising is the way to, especially we have 14 different brands from taxes to grooming your pets. So I'm sure there's a passion in there. If there isn't, we can even help you maybe turn your passion into a franchise. But again, I really just believe in franchising. I believe um, that we can create our own heaven on earth if we do what we love with who we love. We'll
Mhm.
never worry about a Monday again. We'll never worry weekend again. There won't be any more quiet quitting because everybody loves what they do. And that's the future I want to see. That's what I want to see. So if you want that or you want any more of that, reach out to me. I'd love to help.
That's awesome. And like I said, it's somebody who I always kind of believe like puts people's over profits. So I want to thank you so much, DJ, as you kind of just pulled out the Jeff kind of happening today. But with that being said, I want to thank you again. And what we're gonna do is like this is episode number 2 of the Logistics Monk Show. Want to thank everybody for taking the time. I know you're catching this. We don't go live, so I'm not gonna say catching the replay. Maybe it's your first time watching this, but what we're trying to do here is bring some value to you from people from all walks of different life. And for us, it's not about sticking to one topic. Like today, hey, we talked about all the things that made DJ successful in what he does and being able to relate to that. So tune in next week. Every Monday we go at 5 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube.